Mr. Clyde is recognized for the remainder of the hour as the designee of the Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. 3 weeks ago, this body passed my common sense resolution, H.J. Res. 42, to repeal the D.C. City Council's severely misguided anti-police law, and we did so with bipartisan support, sending a clear message that the People's House remains resolute in our commitment to both back the men and women in blue of the Metropolitan Police Department and to restore public safety in our nation's capital city. We're only 131 days into 2023, and Washington, D.C. has recorded 77 homicides, 62 incidents of sexual abuse, nearly 500 cases of assault with a dangerous weapon, more than 900 robberies, over 24 incidents of motor vehicle theft, and almost 4,200 reported thefts. Clearly, there is a catastrophic crime crisis here in Washington. Yet D.C. Council Chairman Phil Mendelson insists that there is, and I quote, not a crime crisis in Washington, D.C. Meanwhile, it appears the D.C. Attorney General is more concerned with safety risks of gas stoves than safety of citizens. And Mayor Bowser remains missing in action as criminals terrorize the city. In an unconvincing attempt to showcase leadership, she held a public safety summit this week to discuss the issue of crime. But the mayor knows what must be done. She simply refuses to do it. This isn't complicated. D.C.'s local government must prosecute criminals and support Metropolitan Police Department officers. But due to D.C.'s failed local leadership, it's now up to Congress to save our nation's capital from itself. We have both the authority and the responsibility to do so, but we must act swiftly. Residents, small businesses, visitors, and the heroic officers of the Metropolitan Police Department are counting on us to act. Failure to do so will only embolden dangerous, violent, and deranged criminals taking over Washington's streets. So as I did this morning at the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial, I call on the Senate to pass H.J. Res. 42 and to put people over politics by joining our effort to improve public safety in our nation's capital city. And I urge President Biden to follow suit, just as he did in our fight to nullify the Council's Soft on Crime Revised Criminal Code Act. We must use our authority outlined in Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17 of the United States Constitution to not only protect Americans in Washington, but to protect MPD officers risking their lives to defend law and order in D.C. Mr. Speaker, the clock is ticking, and we don't have a minute to waste. Senators, let's get this done and pass H.J. Res. 42 for the American people. Mr. Speaker, I rise today in defense of Americans' Second Amendment freedoms. In January, the ATF finalized its unconstitutional rule pertaining to firearms with stabilizing braces. Under the ATF's new rule, any pistol brace firearm would be considered an unregistered short-barreled rifle, subjecting these firearms to draconian regulations under the National Firearms Act of 1934. The ATF informed law-abiding gun owners possessing pistols housing these braces that they will have only 120 days to register these firearms or risk harsh NFA violations, including hefty fines up to $250,000 and up to 10 years in jail. This 120-day amnesty window ends later this month on May 31st. Now keep in mind, this rule doesn't just violate Americans' Second Amendment liberties, it also subverts Congress's sole legislative authority, because Congress makes laws, not unelected anti-gun bureaucrats at the ATF. Yet with the snap of ATF Director Dettelbach's finger and non-existent authority, millions of law-abiding gun owners, including many disabled veterans, will become criminals, felons overnight, if they refuse to register, turn in, destroy, or dismantle their pistol brace firearms. For months, I have promised gun owners that I would relentlessly fight the ATF's unconstitutional pistol brace rule on their behalf, and I mean it. Later this month, this body will pass my Congressional Review Act joint resolution, H.J. Res. 44, to prevent the Biden administration's tyrannical measure from taking effect. We are not giving 1 inch in our constitutional right to keep and bear arms. Not 1 inch, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, and I yield back.